Welcome back to Random Rod Shop, folks. And it's been a long week. I don't know about you. We're going to get back on the International today. I've pulled the pickup around. I got the passenger side out here on the side we can work on. I thought I would give you an update on the C10 pickup and a couple other problem children that we've had along the way. So let me get the camera around here. Let's start with the C10. You know, you guys that watched that video last week. You know that we've had a reoccurring problem with the passenger side of the upper control arm. The nuts that hold this upper control arm come loose, or the bolt stretch. I don't know which one it is. It appears the nuts come loose, the alignment shims come out, and then, you know, this upper control arm just bangs and bounces. So I'm like, okay. So I ordered a complete upper. Apparently you can't order a complete lower nowadays. Not sure why. I've ordered them in the past, but I have yet to find a complete lower. For you guys that look on Amazon or something like that, they list one, but that thing's got C20 ball joints in it, which ain't the same. And it doesn't have, the C20s and 30s don't have rubber bushings. They've got greasable bushings, metal ones. All right, so here's what I run into on the, and it didn't really rear its head on the passenger side that I was looking for the video. The new ball joint went in. It seemed to be a little easier, but it went in. It was snug, or I guess it was snug. No problem. The next day I got up early in the morning. I took the driver's side apart, so I drove out the old ball joint. I put in the new ball joint, and it just fell out. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what causes that, but if you measure the OD, you know, in the serration here, this thing's about 182, 180, 182, somewhere in there. The one I pulled out is about 19, 192. So fundamentally, there's 10 thousandths difference between the diameter of, you know, the new Chinese one and the one I pulled out. And I thought, okay, well, let's go get some Moogs. So over the week, I ordered a set of Moogs. It says, I don't know if you can see that, it says Moog right there. And it comes in, I didn't even try it in the control arm. You know, I got the truck's jacked up on blocks and everything else, and I was like, holy smoke. I measure the Moog, and you know what? It is actually slightly smaller than the Chinese one. It's at like 178. I mean, depending on where you go, it goes to 182. But I guess to sum it up, the Moog is, relatively speaking, the same size as the Chinese one. Which begs the question, what the hell's going on? You know, I've run into them where the bottom ball joint was walled out, but you know that when you take it apart. I can tell you, this was tight. It did not want to come out of there. 10 thousandths makes a difference. So I don't know what's going on nowadays. Apparently Moog thinks 1.8 is the right answer too, even though there is no way this one is 1.8, the one I pulled out of there. So I ended up pinging in the, you know, knocking around the hole that the ball joint goes in to get it snug so it'll hold it in there and put it together. Now you guys might be asking, oh my, that's not a good idea. Well, if you look at the way the forces are lined up on that lower ball joint, the coil spring is always pushing the control arm down, and these things don't spin. So these have, the rubber is, right, the rubber is, I think it's actually vulcanized. I may be wrong, but I think it's vulcanized to that inner sleeve that's on there. Anyway, as the suspension goes down, or if you think about it, as you hit a bump and you push up the tire, you're just driving the ball joint further into the lower A-arm. The only time I can think of from a theoretical standpoint is if you get air with your front end, right? And then you're like, okay, the weight of the wheel could actually push the ball joint out. And that's not going to happen either, because these upper ball joints, or these upper control arm bushings, are tight. So it's not going to, the upper bushings aren't going to react as fast as the lower ones are. So I don't know, as long as it's not loose. If it's loose, it's just going to wallow around. But as long as it's not loose, by the time, you know, in my case, I drive it on dirt roads and everything else, there's going to be some dust. And it's going to continue to rust in there because it's not painted or anything like that. And even if it was, I don't think there's anything's going to cause that ball joint to get loose, to loosen itself in that housing. That said, I really wished I could have bought a lower control arm. That's frustrating as all get out. Still don't know if that's going to fix the problem. I went to bleed the brakes on the front of that C10, and apparently the lines collapsed on the driver's side. So I'm gonna have to get a new brake line and then see if we can bleed the brakes. Then we're gonna drive it around and see what it acts like. So that's the C10. My mower decided to, the blade started hitting. I wonder why. This is the center blade. It's a Kubota 23 horse diesel, and this is, you know, this is center blade on it. I don't know about you, but I don't crawl under that mower deck very often, but it kind of highlighted there might be a problem when the blade started hitting. So to get that off, you kind of got to disassemble that whole mower deck. And it decided to break the other mount on that too. $200. Nothing for a stepper, right? All right, the other project, I got I'm going to call it a golf cart, but it's like an industrial golf cart, electric one, and near as I can tell, it's an Easy Go, and all the Easy Goes operate the same way. They got an electric motor that goes in left or right into the rear axle, and the rear axle's got a male spline shaft, and you need a female spline shaft to go on it if you want to put a gas motor on there. I went looking for that bushing, and folks want $200 for that splined coupler right there. So, oh my. So, I took the motor apart, and did you know you can press that shaft out of there? So, we're going to get a couple pillow blocks or flange, I don't know which, and mount that on the side of that rear axle and put a sprocket in the middle so we can power it, probably with a little 6.5 horse Harbor Freight motor. So working on that thing, and then our daily driver decided the windshield wipers didn't want to work. Now I went looking, and apparently this is a 93 Chevy, so all of the early 90s. Apparently, and it was an intermittent problem. The circuit board in here, one of the connectors comes loose. But I was kind of between a rock and a hard spot, so I bought a new motor, and the wipers work. But my curiosity, you know how it is. I got to know what the problem is. So I'm gonna take that thing apart and see if I can figure out what the problem is. It only didn't work when it was raining. If it wasn't raining, it'd work all the time. And last but not least, so I told you my son is putting a 3.4 liter in his 89 S10. It had the 4-cylinder. What was that, a 2.5 4-cylinder? So we've got this 95 Camaro that I don't know how long we've had it, but the guy I got it from, he said, no, it was running fine. They just run over something and busted the slave cylinder on the side of the transmission. First thing we learned was that bell housing is a 3-year only item. So we couldn't find a bell housing. We ended up basically swapping out the guts of the Camaro transmission into an S10 World Class T5, which, by the way, is only like a 6-month window in 93. What's special about those S10 World Class T5s is after about mid-93, they still had World Class, but the bell housing bolt pattern on the front of the transmission was the Ford bell housing bolt pattern. Not where the engine goes, but where it bolts onto the transmission. But there was a 6-month window in there where Chevy, I guess I don't know what, I don't know. About a 6-month window at the beginning of the 1993 model year that they had Chevy bolt pattern transmission castings stuck somewhere. So the first half of 93, the transmissions in S10 pickups are T5 World Class transmissions. And you can just put a regular Chevy bell housing on them. So that's what we did. We have Chevy bell housings for those 60-degree V6s. So we gutted the transmission, put it in there. Anyway, we get this thing all together, and man, it's missing. I just couldn't figure it out. We thought, well, you know, we went through coil, we went through carburetor, we went through distributor, and it just, you know, this is my mentoring to you today. Check the compression first. So we ran compression on it, and the passenger side, it has 150 PSI, right? That's pretty good. Went on the driver's side, and the first bank had 150. The back two banks, 0. Well, that's interesting. Pulled it apart, and these are the valves out of it, and I don't think those things have been seating for a while. We did learn, though, that engine will run on the passenger side 3. We had the plugs out of the driver's side, and the thing started. I wouldn't have guessed that. I think what caused that was because it was only firing on 4 cylinders. I had the timing really retarded, and so apparently that helped out. I don't know. When we got another head, we had an MG, a 78 MG that had a 60-degree V6 in it. It had 2.8 in it. That was a fun car. Had the T5 in it. Anyway, it's got the motor down on the bench down there, so we pulled the heads out. We grabbed one of those heads, took the head off of the 3.4, put the head on there, crank it over. I bet I had to twist that distributor 20 degrees to get it to start. So, that just reminds me of, Grandma drove it on just once on Sunday. There is no way that engine was running before they broke the bell housing. So that's what we've been up to here at Random Rod Shop. Let me move the camera around. We're going to work on the passenger side of this truck, and we're going to start with the door this time. All right, you guys have been along for the ride so far. I had my own struggles with the with the driver's side door, trying to get everything to line up. So let's see here. That's the front of the door. And that's the back of the door. It's not bad. There is the cab to the door alignment. And there is the fender to the door alignment. Not perfect, but that's not bad. So the fender can go in a little bit at the bottom. Not much, but it can go in a little bit. Still got maybe an 1/8, 3/16 of an inch. And when we do that, the door's not lined up. So what we're going to start with is we're going to see how much better we can make this whole alignment by adjusting this door. Last time I spent a couple hours getting those bolts loose without breaking them. So I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to get those bolts loose and I'll get back to you. Oh, it always takes more time. So I got all the bolts loosened. I got them out, ran a tap down them. So they go in pretty easy now. Let's shut the door. So right now I've got everything loose. Let's shut the door and see what it's going to take to, let's just see if we can line it up. All right, so we're not bad up here. Let's have a look at the bottom. Well, that door is a little bit out there. And it's a little bit in right there. Actually, it's in quite a bit. So we need the front in and we need the back out. But that could go in just a touch. I mean, it's not bad, but that needs to go in. That line's not bad. That line's not bad. That could go in just a little bit. So let's step back here and think about this. That in, pushing that in is going to bring this out. And we need this. Now, well, that's interesting. Let me get the camera down there and show you that. So right there, where that cab welds onto that rocker, they overlapped the cab piece over the rocker or something there. What's going on? All right, I want to try to get this up there. See the gap? So where they've overlapped that, looks like they just welded and given everything given the other welding it's on, it's probably brass. Looks like they brazed that cab panel on top of this rocker arm panel right here. And this shape doesn't flow into the rocker. I think that's causing me some problem in terms of trying to set this door. Let me work on this just a little bit. Well, it's not perfect, but I think it's better than it was. Let's shut this door and let's see what we're going to have to do to get this door to line up. I'm going to pull that light loose just in case that's causing me some problems. You ever get the feeling the world conspires against you? So, working on this door, I'm like, okay, let's get that fender bolted up and let's try to, I really don't want the same problem I had on the other side. Let me show you what I found. So the bolt that holds the lower fender in, apparently it's broke out. So I'm gonna pull the fender off. We'll see if we can weld a washer and a nut on there. See if we can work this thing out. All right, let me get the fender off. I may got it a tad too hot. We may have to do this again. Let me get back to you. Well, that took a lot longer than I thought. You know, this is gonna be like a scratchy record. Holy smoke. Ended up getting to the back side of it and using the finger sander to actually sand the nut off. I was gonna show it to you, but when I knocked it out of there, I don't know where it went. All right, now we're back to square one. Let me get a bolt and a nut. We're gonna end up having to weld that nut back on the back side, but for right now, I'd just like to hold the fender on there. Before I put this fender on here, I thought I'd show you something that seems to be peculiar to the International fenders. I don't know if you can see that. See that gap between the fender itself and this brace? Well, that thing is at the back of the wheel well, and it appears that that has a propensity of getting little rocks shoved in there. And what that does is that holds the fender further away from the brace than it's supposed to, and you end up with a pooched fender. Anyway, you guys working on Internationals, make sure you don't have any rocks back there. Sure makes lining up fenders a pain in the ass. Okay, we're back where we started this mess. All right, let's see what this thing needs. All right, the door's definitely got to come out there. So the gap on this front fender, it's wider up here than it is down here. But I need to raise the core support up probably about 1/8 of an inch, near as I can tell, maybe 1/4, but I think 1/8. And that'll get this gap here parallel. All I'm focused on right now is try to get it relatively level. This fender's got the same problem the other side did, is that it's pushed out here. That may be, I pulled a couple of rocks out of this one, so maybe that has it pushed out a little bit. The door seems to be nice with the fender. The rocker definitely isn't out far enough. This isn't bad. My gap here is a little tighter than it is up here. It's almost like the door needs just a little bit more, but I don't know if I buy that, because the gap here is smaller than the gap down here. You think maybe this old truck is tweaked? I think we're going to kind of just moosh it in between and see if we can get the best compromise we can. That body line looks good. It looks good up there. That body line along the door looks pretty good. Well, I think let's start tightening this up, and it's going to take a few back and forths, because I've got to open it up to tighten it up, and it's going to slip. But let's get after it. Now the bottom's in too much. It sure looks like that bottom can come out some more. Let me get a block over here and a jack. See if I can get some help. Well, that's not too bad there. The whole door needs to come in just a little bit. Let's see, if we can adjust them the same, then we'll be in good shape. Yeah, given the way things are going, we're probably going to do this 2 or 3 times. All right, let's see what we got up here. That's pretty flush right there. Fender needs to come out here. Well, that's not bad down there either. So it looks like the fender in this area right here, or the door. I don't know. I'm willing to pry on it. What do you think? You know what? I think I can adjust that. It'll take a little bit of finessing on that fender, but think we can get that pulled. We can get this to align with that. All right, so let's say this is done. I'm gonna see if I can adjust this latch. About right here, the door is still just a little bit in too far. Let's see here. Let's see if we can take the top, take that loose, and see if we can get the top of the door in just a little bit. Well, that sure helped the front of the door. See if we can go just a little bit more. Well, folks, I think that's as good as I'm going to be able to get it. Okay, well, the fender's bolted on. The door, we think, is adjusted with the body. Let's have a look at the rocker and see what it looks like. All right, so on this side, you can see that's out probably 3/8 of an inch relative to where it needs to be on the rocker. So that's the front. On the back side is pretty close. You know, give or take, that's less than 1/8 of an inch. Let's have a look inside the door. Well, it looks like we got a little bit of room. We could tweak the bottom of that door in just a little bit. I'm struggling with as much as it needs there. It looks like the door is a little flattened out here, so that could be rolled back in. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this rocker and widen it out, and at the same time I want to see if I can close up some of that gap that's on the bottom. This thing's got a big gap, so I think tweak the bottom of this door just a little bit, basically pull that rocker out and raise it up just a little bit. So in the big scheme of things, what that means is I'm going to bend an L piece and basically weld in a new corner, raising up this edge and bringing it out. Given I can't get to the back side of that thing's going to have to be fitted. Okay, what else is new, right? All right. Never got any comments on the, shortening the Silverado axle, but I'm gonna put a disc brakes 8.6 in the back of that 67. To that end, I went ahead and I just ordered a set of axles from Dutchman's. All right, so they're Silverado axles. They're just 3 inches shorter. So if you guys are interested in a shortened axle, let me know. Nobody made any comment about the axle, and you know, I think it was 3 or 4 videos ago, but if you're interested in it, we're going to shorten it 8.6 and we're going to cut it down 3 inches on each side. So if you're interested in that, make a comment. We've run out of time. This has been a full weekend. You know, like most of you, I got a full-time job, so Saturday and Sunday is about the only time I get to work on this stuff. And we've had plenty of stuff to work on this weekend. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Make a comment, you know, leave a like. And I do appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, I think we need to go edit this and see if we can get it posted. I'm Random at Random Rod Shop, and we're out of here.